keep going closer and closer. What if you didn't interrupt the children at 10 o'clock to take them to Spanish and French? What if you let them keep working for 3 hours? What if you didn't give them grade? What if you didn't give them worksheets? What if you only worked with the materials in the classroom? People will see if they do it, that better and better results will come. So reaching the potential for us as human beings, but also striving for the potential as schools to really put this into practice and see what will happen.
In comparison to other schooling, Montessori education definitely invites the child, the student, to reach their potential, whatever that might be, at their own pace with guidance. The book that you wrote, the title, Montessori Potential, speaks volumes. Can you speak about how we are trained as Montessori guides to aid to this particular children's, every child's own potential? What does that mean, their potential?
Right. It's a bit of a catchy word sometimes. And I think it is really, that's a great question. So I think it's important to think about. Maria Montessori herself talked about teachers trying to train ourselves to envision the child who is not yet there. So when we look at a young child who's struggling or who is behaving in a certain way that maybe isn't optimal, that we not react so much to what is in front of us, but we really try to have faith and belief in the person that we know that child could probably be. So it's taking the long view, which I love, especially for parents. I think it's really powerful to take the long view. Picture your 4-year-old as a 40-year-old. They're probably not going to be like they are right now. So taking the long view, having a positive approach, treating the child as if they are capable of the things that you're asking is so, so important. But the other aspect of this that Montessori talked about a lot was not imposing on the child what you think they should be, this potential that you're picturing. You can envision that there is this better person inside this child or more capable or whatnot, but you're not going to hold them to that. You know that every single moment they are creating themselves. So one of the big paradigm shifts, I think, for us as parents and as teachers when we come into Montessori is to stop thinking of the child as something that we need to mold and shape and teach, but to respect that the child is forming themselves, that there's a creative process going on. This person is building a person, and it's not our job to do that. In fact, you can't do it for them, even if you wanted to. So our position is to step to the side and aid the process, support them to do this, but really lift them up to be able to do the job and stay out of their way. We're talking about potential in terms of taking the long view, having faith in the child that isn't there yet, and also allowing that potential to go wherever it's going to go, because you just don't know. And one of the reasons I chose this title is I did keep finding myself that word slipping out over and over, because so often, even though I was a Montessori trained educator, I did believe in all my students. Well, the greatest compliment I ever got was that a person told me that her daughter in high school commented on me as a teacher that when she'd been in my class in elementary school, she said that I made her feel like she could do anything. And it makes me tear up. It is really, to me, that was like the most important thing you could possibly do for a young person. I am still amazed when I hear what graduates are doing. I still am surprised because I didn't know they could do that. And I just love that delight. And I don't know if they knew what they could do, but nobody ever stopped them and told them they weren't good at things or they couldn't do things. They were realistic about their abilities. They noticed in each other and in themselves who was more adept at certain things. But in Montessori, I think they just keep experiencing that there aren't these limits, that we don't know what we can do and we can go further. Your work is your own and you're creating yourself. So I think it's just so positive and inspiring. And that word potential kept coming up for me. So the other little part of the title, which we talked about the other day, is that Montessori itself has so much potential that we have not reached, I don't think, as a society. Some schools are much closer to reaching the full potential and they're always working on it. But for so many Montessori schools, they're so far from coming close to the potential of what Montessori can do because they're holding back from going all the way. And you and I have talked about this. It's so important, I think, for people to reach and strive and have the confidence to try to do what Montessori really said we should try to do. And this is why our school has been really fun at Forest Bluff School. It was founded by my sister and my mother. They wanted to see what would happen if they really did what Maria Montessori said. And they started as an experiment with 15 children, one little classroom. They had 3 and 4-year-olds. My sister, Lynn Jessen, was the teacher. And they just wanted to see what would happen. And they didn't know if it would fail or if it would work. And what happened was they just kept seeing, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then if we do a little more, then look what happens. So my goal right now is to go around and encourage schools to just keep going closer and closer. You know, what if you didn't interrupt the children at 10 o'clock to take them to Spanish and French? What if you let them keep working for 3 hours? What if you didn't give them grades? What if you didn't give them worksheets? What if you only worked with the materials in the classroom? I mean, people will see if they do it, that better and better results will come. So reaching the potential for us as human beings, but also striving for the potential as schools to really put this into practice and see what will happen.
Indeed. You spoke about students that have come through, and you've been teaching for a while, where you've also been part of the school for a while. And it must be amazing to see these young ones come back and tell you what they're doing, firsthand. One of the things that comes to mind for me often is Maria Montessori, 1870. She was born in 1870. And then, she's working with students as a physician. She just takes on this orphanage. And she came up with all this amazing information that we are still trying to uncover the true secrets of, right? That you just spoke about. So often we think Maria Montessori's work is old. How does it still apply in modern days now where we're talking about technology advances? So what are your thoughts about Montessori today?
Yeah. Oh, I love that question. I also want to point out, I think this is really interesting to think about. Maria Montessori had to keep moving so many times in her life. She would start a school and then move on, and then that school would get closed and she'd start somewhere else. And that happened to her so much in life. I bet she rarely got to see the full results of her work. I mean, she wasn't in the same community where she could have seen these children when they were in their 20s and 30s. So I'm sure she heard stories, but I think she'd be really amazed today to look down and see what has been happening. So whenever we feel discouraged that there isn't more Montessori and why hasn't it spread more and why don't people just believe us, I think we have to remember that it's pretty incredible how much it's grown and how much more evidence we have now of how strong it is. But to answer your question, I think it goes back to what I started to say earlier, that human beings and our needs have not changed that much. When I give a talk to parents, I'll often start by asking them to think about what they think their young child, maybe 2 years old, is going to need to know and be able to do when they're an adult to face an uncertain world, a world that's changing so rapidly with technology. We just had a worldwide pandemic, so they now can picture that, So many things can happen that we cannot even predict. So it's not like, in the 40s when you were raising children and thinking, well, if my child becomes a lawyer or a doctor, they'll probably make a good living. People tried to steer their children into certain skill sets to ensure that they would have a successful and happy life. Well, that's no longer true. We really don't know what skill set, which language, which foreign language should they learn? What type of math? And these types of math just are crazy. What type of math, what kind of reading program is going to be most successful? We really don't know. And so those things are all a gamble. How is it going to turn out raising children with so much technology and on screens? We really don't know. These are experiments. The world is changing so fast. But what doesn't change is something that Maria Montessori talked about again and again and again, that is a human characteristic that makes us different from any other creature, which is our ability to adapt. She talked about adaptability. She said this is the most important thing that we can nurture in ourselves and in our children, the ability to adapt. Children are extremely adaptable because they can be born into any time, place, or culture and acquire those times and that culture, that language, that way of being. They are able to learn very quickly. The most important set of skills that we should be fostering in children, no matter where they're born, and honestly, no matter when they're born, but especially right now, is the ability to focus, the ability to engage, the desire to engage with the world around you, the ability to collaborate with other human beings and empathize with them, the ability to concentrate, the ability to organize your thoughts and organize your space, the ability to persevere, resilience. These are the same words that come up when I ask an audience, what do you think your child needs? Nobody ends up saying, I think my child's going to need a foreign language, or I think my child's going to need to be able to compute. Yes, we want them all to learn basic math and things that are part of our culture, but people really realize that the inner skills, those life skills, those what some people call soft skills, are the most important thing. And those will be used, and those will be attributed, and those will be connected to anything that a human being is going to need to know how to do and is going to tackle in their lives. And honestly, that was true decades ago and centuries ago, just as it is now. Early humans needed these skills too. And the beautiful thing is that they're natural for us to develop. These skills and these abilities and these traits are natural human characteristics. School and education and our parenting can either foster these characteristics and help them to grow stronger and stronger, or suppress them, one or the other. The older I get, the more I feel that a lot of these characteristics are really suppressed in conventional schooling. The ability to come up with original ideas, the desire to engage with your work. So much of that is, without meaning to, suppressed, without meaning to be suppressed, is being suppressed in conventional schooling. It's really time for people to move on. The thing that makes me, I know you're going to ask this, so I'll just jump into the thing that makes me have hope for the future is that I do think educators are realizing this. I do think that more and more people are seeing that we need to free up human energy in classrooms for good things to happen.